It's great to see the 8th annual Irish Film Festival is about to hit cinemas across Australia. In fact, from the 25th of August to the 25th of September in cinemas and online, 30th of September to the 16th of October. And as always, it's always a pleasure to talk to the festival director of the Irish Film Festival, Enda Murray. Enda, welcome again to Movie Metropolis.
Hi, Peter. It's great to be here.
Good to talk to you. And let me ask you, first of all, it appears that Irish films and perhaps the Irish film industry are progressing quite well. They're making some good product.
Yes, absolutely. And I was doing a bit of research for this interview, and I've come across a report from Screen Ireland, which calculated that the film industry brought in about €500 million last year, which is quite a lot for a small country, which is less than population of New South Wales. I know when I started the list for this year, I had almost 30 films, which is very respectable. 30 feature films. So 30 feature films made in a year, it's a lot.
That's incredible. So what was your process in deciding the films that we're seeing in Australia?
So I would have started last year, actually, at Galway Film Festival. And I also kept an eye on Dublin Film Festival, which took place in January. And actually, that's where I saw on Colleen Kuhn, The Quiet Girl, which is the film that's making a lot of noise this year. And that was the first time that an Irish language film opened the Dublin Film Festival. So I knew it must be a special film, and I was proved right. Yeah, got standing ovation at Sydney Film Festival, and it's just an outstanding film. So I keep an eye on the festivals, Cork Film Festival as well. And then I also work with the Irish Film Institute, who are responsible for supporting Irish film going abroad. And those guys help me out with putting me in touch with any films that they reckon are worth seeing. And also, the other thing I do is I look at the Irish film festivals around the world. So there's probably about 25 Irish film festivals from Moscow to, unfortunately, the Moscow one is gone. That's another story. But from Rome to London, and of course a bunch in the States, one in Ottawa as well. So I keep an eye on those festivals and talk to the curators there about films that have worked for them.
Very good indeed. You really keep a comprehensive eye view on what's happening with Irish cinema, which is terrific. And yes, with The Quiet Girl, I've noticed a lot of press around that, and that it's getting a commercial release, I think, after the festival or thereabouts. It is so interesting to have a film in its original Irish language.
Yeah, absolutely. So TG Cahir, TG4, the Irish language TV station, has partnered with Screen Ireland, and they're making 2 Irish language films a year. So this was something that Colm Barrade, the director of Quiet Girl, mentioned when I actually spoke to him in a Q&A. So just dropped that in. I've got 10 Q&As with the directors that'll accompany the features. But he said, in terms of the making of the film, that once they had got the green light early on from TG4 and Screen Ireland, they were able to stay with their original kind of artistic vision for the film. They said that was a big help in terms of, they had the pot of money. They didn't have to keep going, to this body and that body to raise the money. And each time you've got to work with commissioning editors, they always want to make little changes. So that was a good thing. And yeah, certainly, I was back in Ireland last month, and I speak reasonably good Irish, so I was having various chats with people around the country. Mostly in the West is where the Irish is spoken, but it is great to see it on the big screen.
Absolutely, and that's part of the. I think I read about 16 films will be screening across Australia.
That's right. In total, 16 films. So we've got 10 films in the cinema, and then most of those will go online, but not all of them. And there'll be another 6 will go screen online as well in October, early October. So yeah, we're going Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, Perth, and Canberra. So that's the first time going to 5 cities. So very exciting.
It is. Congratulations on expanding the festival in that sort of way. Now, I read that the opening night film, fans of Irish dance will be very pleased to see this film, Steps of Freedom.
Yes, so this is a very interesting film, so it's kind of not before time, because the numbers that have seen the Riverdance show, and then it's follow-ups, Lord of the Dance, and I see there's another one actually in Australia this month, Airborne. But over 2 million people have seen them around the world since early 90s. And this film is actually made by the same company that did Riverdance way back in the I think it was 93, the Tyrone Productions. And it looks at the history of Irish dance and where it came from, going way back to medieval times, and then looking at particularly with the Irish diaspora, the way that the culture traveled with the people. A lot of the people were very poor, and they had nothing but their bodies. And so one of the things that they brought with them was their dance. And it's been very interesting to see how that has combined with other influences, Black dance culture in America that came from Africa, and how that has appeared in mainstream. So films like Singing in the Rain with Gene Kelly, that famous dance that he does with the umbrella. There's bits of a jig in there, but I thought that was quite an interesting part of it. A lot of this film is shot in the States, as well as lots of other places around the world. So it delves into the history of dance and kind of the impact, and how Irish dance culture has intersected with other cultures around the world.
I'm sure audiences will find that a very interesting film indeed. So well done on screening that as the opening night film. Now, I have fond memories of a film called Let the Right One In, which was the I think that was the Swedish or whatever horror vampire sort of film. And now there's an Irish version called Let the Wrong One In.
Yes, so well spotted, Peter. So that would only be a film buff that would spot that play on words. So look, we lay a claim to vampires. Our own Bram Stoker wrote the original Dracula back in 1893, I think, and so. we are no strangers to the vampire meme. So Let the Wrong One In is a lot of blood and a lot of laughs. And there's also Anthony Head, who I believe was an actor in Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So there's another little play there with the meme of vampires.
Okay, very good. Always nice to see a vampire film. So I noticed a film called Redemption of a Rogue, a black comedy, which sounds very interesting indeed.
Yeah, this is a really well-made film that has done well at festivals. So it's got a couple of layers to it. It's a black comedy, and it's from County Cavan, which is in the middle of Ireland, and it doesn't, I've got to say, doesn't have an awful lot to commend to itself. The story revolves around a son who comes back home, to a prodigal son, comes back home to bury his dad, but then finds out that his dad has written into his will that he must be buried on a day that it doesn't rain. But unfortunately, in Cavan, it rains all the time. So this is the pretty ropey premise, but there's a lot of laughs, and it's really nicely made, intelligent film. So that was good, great to get that and to see it in the cinema.
Very good indeed. Now, I always like a retrospective or a classic film or whatever, and it's really interesting to see Into the West, which I still have fond memories of, with Gabriel Byrne, and a film made about 30 years ago, and it's so good that you're resurrecting that film.
Yeah, so it is 30 years, as you say, since Into the West, and I actually screened it at Galway. I was at the Galway Film Festival last month. My God, it seems like a long time ago. It had very interesting Q&A with Tony Newell, Mike Newell, the director. It was quite amazing to see what had changed in Ireland, and then also some things that hadn't changed. But no, it's a lot of fun to see, Gabriel Byrne, Colm Meaney, who has been on Star Wars, and Brendan Gleeson, who has been in lots of stuff, and his sons are actually moving past him in terms of their level of stardom. But great to see all of these kind of classic Irish actors in a film which has a lot of people have a soft spot for Into the West. It does have some incredible shots, which when the director was speaking at Galway was reiterating. There's a horse galloping along the top of the cliffs of Moher with a 200-meter straight drop down, and I was looking at it thinking, my God, who did that? Who was crazy enough to ride that horse? And yeah, there was a few other scenes in there which wouldn't happen in today's world, but back then it was more free and easy. There's some very funny parts in there with horses in there's tower blocks and going up and down on lifts, and etc. But a very nice film all the same. Alan Barkin, tragically, who passed away, but plays a gypsy queen.
Very good choice. So it's really good to see that film as part of the Irish Film Festival this year. I noticed an inspirational documentary which sounds quite intriguing, a film called Young Plato.
Yeah, so Young Plato was made in Ardoyne in North Belfast, which is a very tough area. It's had its share of poverty and paramilitary activities during the Troubles, and now there's gangsters and drugs, and this is a film which accompanies a head teacher in a young boys a school for young boys, a primary school in Ardoyne, and he is both an Elvis nut and also a philosophy freak, and he teaches these young guys philosophy, and I really liked it. The guys, Nasser Nikianon, who's the director, made another film a couple of years ago at a private school in Ireland. That was called School Life, and that had a very good journey through festivals. This is another film where they accompany a teacher for. They were in there for 12 months shooting, so very long form, in depth. But a teacher in a completely different environment, and her comment when I spoke to her in the Q&A was that what her takeaway from that was just the strength of the local community and their passion to educate the kids and to give their kids a better life than they had, and she said that was something that she took away from making that film. There's just the warmth and love in the community, and it's a film of great hope, I think, for Northern Ireland, and a place which has had a lot of problems over the last 50 years, and it's just wonderful to see a good news story come out of Northern Ireland, and a story of hope for the future.
Very good. Sounds really interesting. Cry of Granuaile, I think, is it pronounced? I may have that wrong. Sounds like another rather intriguing documentary.
Yeah, so Cry of Granuaile, not bad on the Irish there, Peter. Cry of Granuaile is I think I would give it a title of being a more hybrid, maybe experimental. I know experimental could be a death knell for a film, but the filmmaker Donald Foreman was very influenced by the Irish First Wave in the 70s, and this is a story about a pirate queen, Grania O'Malley, who was a very powerful woman in the very late 16th century. So she actually made a treaty with Queen Elizabeth, and she sailed over to London. This is about 1595, and the story was that she didn't speak any English, and Queen Elizabeth obviously didn't speak any Gaelic, so they conversed in Latin, and Queen Elizabeth made a treaty with Grania O'Malley, which was pretty unusual at the time. Number one, for Queen Elizabeth to make a treaty with anybody, but two, that this was an Irish chieftain, female chieftain, but she was a feared woman. She was a pirate along the west coast, which had a lot of traffic in those days, and there are a lot of stories over the years that have come up about her. And so what Donald Foreman was looking to explore was the stories and how the stories came about, and so it's a mix of a modern drama, but then as time goes on, the boundaries they fade in between drama and documentary and imagination and reality. So it's an interesting film, and he shot it on 16mm film, which is unusual in this day and age.
Wow, okay. Sounds very interesting indeed. Looking forward to seeing that. Now, as a nice contrast, You Are Not My Mother, a good horror film by the sounds of it.
Yeah, and this is a very well-made film. It's first feature by Kate Dolan, the director. It features a young actor, Hazel Dupe, who actually was in our festival in 2019. She was the lead in a film called Float Like a Butterfly. And she's an incredible performer. And I think we're going to hear a lot more about her. She's only 19. She's the lead in You Are Not My Mother. And it's a film that works on a couple of different levels because it's a psychological horror. It's pretty scary. I found it very unsettling, but it also kind of explores mental health, and it also explores the idea of a child who has got the responsibility of looking after a parent who is not in good shape, and that responsibility that a young person has in having to take care of elderly parent. So it works on a few different levels. It's based around the time of Halloween in Ireland, Samhain, which is the old Celtic festival which predates Halloween. And again, this is I suppose every year I'm fed up telling people that Halloween is not an American festival. It's an Irish festival. Goes back, to its roots in Ireland. And so, yeah, it's nice to see this explored on screen.
Very good, very good. And Who We Love sounds like an interesting exploration of identity.
Yeah, so this would be LGBTQ coming out film, and it's very sweet film. It grew out of a short film which was produced in 2016, and then it had such a impact that the writer Graham Cantwell went back and revisited it and worked with some other collaborators and produced a feature film. But really nice performances by a young kind of ensemble cast, and yeah, I think it's still very well. It's a very relevant film, and it's I don't like the term feel good film, but I think it. It's got a big heart.
Very good. And the other one on my list is Love Yourself Today, a documentary.
Yeah, so Love Yourself Today is a film about a singer in Ireland called Damien Dempsey. And I've likened Damien Dempsey to Paul Kelly in a way that Paul Kelly is just such a household name in Australia, yet when you go outside of Australia, unless you're a music aficionado, it's unlikely that you will have heard of him. Damien Dempsey is also very, very popular singer in Ireland, but not so well known in the pop charts. But he is a unusual guy in that he's a big guy, and he's but he sings about emotions and feelings and being vulnerable. And the documentary focuses on Damien during a concert that he does every year in Dublin. but it also it focuses on three characters from his audience who are themselves going through tough times, and the film explores how music helps them heal, and it's a film that's got commendations, but from Brian Eno and Christy Moore, who's an Irish folk legend. So the kind of commendations from two sides of the musical spectrum, but it is it's almost like a spiritual experience to be a part of, to watch this this concert, and just to see how people respond and let go, and there's so many tears and high emotion in there, which the filmmakers captured. It's black and white, which I think kind of helps you focus more on what's going on rather than the mise en scène.
Very good indeed. So that's the Irish Film Festival this year. Tell me about the website, how people can book tickets, the online component, and so on.
Yeah, so the online, we'll have 6 more films online. We've got a James Joyce film, a film about stolen children, which has kind of echoes of stolen generation in Australia. A film about the first surfers in Ireland, which I thought would have a resonance in Australia. And and we'll announce the full lineup in next month on 9th of September. So the online comes after the cinema tour, and of course there's a website which one should go to if one wants details and tickets, and that is, strangely enough, is irishfilmfestival.com.au. So I should plug the fact that we've also got these Q&As, and in each city we're going to have a party on opening night with live music and some refreshments to get the party going. And so that should be lots of fun. Looking forward to it.
Sounds great, Enda. 2 quick questions to round off the interview. How has your film fared? Because I remember you played your film at a previous Irish Film Festival. How's that going?
So I was very happy with Anya Tyrrell, Irish Troubadour, which is a documentary I made, finished last year with an Irish singer who lives in northern New South Wales. It played at Galway Film Festival, then in Ottawa, and also in Belgium at Irish Film Festivals. It was part of the Irish Film Festival Australia last year, and also played Dock and Roll, which is a festival of music films in the UK. So I was delighted, actually. Anya Tyrrell has been through the wars in the last year. Her dad passed away in Ireland, who had featured in the film, and Anya was her house was then washed away in Lismore, the Lismore floods, and so she's had a very tough time of it, but she's still going. She's still going strong, and she's a wonderful performer and a wonderful person. So I've been very happy with that. We're actually making another small doco here. It will be in the Irish Film Festival lineup, and that's a film called Peaches, Queen of Ireland, which is about an Irish drag artist who lives in and performs in Sydney. So that's a short doco, again looking at Irish migrant populations.
Very good indeed. And Enda, just a last question. Apart from everything at the Irish Film Festival, have you seen any other films that have impressed you?
Yeah, the film I think what I've enjoyed most recently, I came across by accident, flicking through channels on TV, and it's a series called Small Acts, and it's made by Steve McQueen, and it's a film about Black experience in England. And I actually lived in England for 10 years, and I made some documentary with Jamaican sound system guys. And so I was very interested in, I suppose, you know, in my academic work, I've been very interested in migrant experience, and but these films are just incredible. There's a series of 5 films. They're on ABC, iView, and they each look at a particular episode in the history of Black people in Britain, and they're just really well made, as you would expect with Steve McQueen, who has very fine pedigree, and they're entertaining as well as educational. So I really enjoyed looking at those films. I've still got a couple more to look at, and then, you know, jumping on Google and looking at the characters. Darcus Howe was one of the intellectual that it featured in one of the films, and you know, back in the 60s, he was a young orator, a young activist, and I really enjoyed looking at the kind of activism that happened back in the 60s, and that's covered by this series, Small Acts.
I fully agree with you.
Yeah.
Yes, I endorse that. It is an excellent series. We've been speaking to Enda Murray, the festival director of the 8th Irish Film Festival, screening August 25th to 25th of September at cinemas across Australia, including in Melbourne at the Kino Cinema. Enda, thanks so much for talking with me.
Very welcome, Peter. Always great to have a chat with you about film. You're a man who knows his film, so it's always a pleasure.
Thanks a lot, Enda. All the best. Talk soon. Okay.
Slán agus Banach, go raibh míle maith agat. Thank you.
Thank you.